Okay, this is slide 21, and you're being asked to rewrite the following equation in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form has y at the beginning, and y is equal to mx plus b. So we want to isolate y. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to subtract 5x from each side. So some of you guys prefer to draw a line down the middle. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm going to subtract 5x from the left and 5x from the right. Okay, and all we have now on the left is just y. So all we have on the left is y, and on the right hand side we got this negative 5x plus 7. We write the x first. So this is going to be negative 5x and then plus that 7 constant 7. And that's it. This is the answer for number 21. Okay, for number 22, I went and go ahead and made the a line down the middle. So we're going to rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. So we're going to solve for y. So, all right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the 8x on the left. So I'm going to subtract 8x from the left and 8x on the right because I'm solving for just y. So this positive 8x minus 8x is 0. And all I have on the left is that negative y. It's not a positive y, it's a negative y. And we just rewrite negative 8x plus 7. So this plus constant is 7. I am solving for not negative y, but for positive y. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by negative 1. Or just that a negative by negative 1. This whole thing by a negative 1. Okay, negative 1 and this minus sign are the same thing. So the opposite of a negative is going to be a positive y. The opposite of a negative 8x is positive 8x. And the opposite of a positive 7 is going to be negative 7. Okay, so we just distribute this negative through, and we have our y. Y is equal to 8x minus 7. Okay, this is slide 23, and I'm going to put this line down the middle. Okay, and then I'm solving for y, but I have 10 x's. So the opposite of having 10 x's is subtracting 10 x's on both sides. So I'm going to subtract 10x on the left and 10x on the right. Okay, that's the left side of the equation. This is the right. Plus 10x minus 10x is the same thing as 0. And all we have on the left is this y. Y is equal to, I'm going to write negative 10x first and then the constant. So like $10 at the end. So let's call it constant. So this is equal to negative 10x's and then plus that 10 constant. And that's it. That's how you do number 23. Okay, so this is like 24. I'm going to put a line down the middle. Okay, and I'm going to solve for this y right here. That's how we rewrite the following equation in slope-intercept form. So we're going to solve for y. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this 8x. So if it's positive, I'm going to subtract 8x on the left and 8x on the right. Okay, so now on the left side of the equation, this positive 8x minus 8x is 0. And all I have on the left is just that positive y. And then I'm going to write the x first. So on the right hand side now we got that negative 8x and then plus this 5. So I got two things. So plus 5 on the right. And that's it. This is slide number 2. Okay, this is the question, slide number 25. And I'm going to put a line down the middle like always. All right, so I'm going to solve for y. In this case it's negative y, but I'm going to turn it into positive. You'll see at the end. So I have this negative 9x on the left. So I'm going to get rid of this negative 9x. So I just want to solve for that y. So I'm going to, if I'm subtracting negative 9x, the opposite is adding 9x's. Not just the left, but both sides. Okay, so on the left side of the equation, this is the left, this simplifies. Positive 9x, negative 9x, positive 9x is 0. And all that we have on the left is this negative y. So I'm just going to write it one more time. And that's equal to positive 9x and plus this other number, plus 6. All right, so notice this is a negative y. We're not solving for negative y. We want positive y. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by -1, which is, and we're going to multiply the right hand side by -1. We got use the property um, of this properties of multiplication to keep it equal. So to keep this equation equal. Okay, so the opposite of a negative is a positive. That's the whole thing of multiplying both sides by a -1. And the opposite of a positive 9x is -9x. Okay, so that's this one. What about the opposite of positive 6? That's what we multiply by negative. So the opposite of positive 6 is -6. And that's it. We have solved for y. This is 25. Okay, so this is 26. And I usually put a line down the middle of the equation, so you have separate the left and the right. I'm going to solve for y. In this case, it's -y, but I'm going to, at the end, make it positive. All right, so I'm just solving for -y. So if I have 9x, so the opposite of having 9x is subtracting those 9x's from each side. Okay, not just the left, but also the right. And if you have 9x minus 9x is 0. And all we have on the left is this -y. So this -y, which is right at one time here, and that's equal to -9x plus this other -3. Okay, so I have -y. I'm not solving for -y, I'm solving for just y. So I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative. I'm just going to put a minus sign this time, but it's the same thing as -1. So the opposite of a negative is a positive y. And these terms as well. So the opposite of a negative is a positive 9x. So the opposite of a negative is a positive. The opposite of a -3 is a positive 3. Okay? So now we have solved for y, and we have this in slope-intercept form. This is your slope, and this is your y-intercept. Okay, this is number 26. Okay, so last one. This is question 27. So again, we're solving for y, and in this case, it happens to be a negative. So I want to get rid of this 4x's on the left. So the opposite of having 4x's is subtracting 4x on the left and subtracting 4x on both sides. Okay, so plus 4x minus 4x is the same thing as not having anything in respect with x's. And all I have on the left is this -y. So I'm just going to write it down here at the bottom. -y is equal to -4x plus a 6. So that I have two things on here, two terms. All right, I'm not solving for -y. I'm solving for positive y. So I'm going to multiply this both sides by a negative. -1. -1. All right, so -1 means we're going to do the opposite. All right, so the opposite of a -y is positive y. All right, so here we're going to multiply -1 by each of those terms. So -1 times -4x. All right, so multiplying by -1 means it's the opposite of -4x. So the opposite of -4x is going to be positive 4x, and -1 times 6 is going to be -6. Okay, and that's it. This is the answer for number 27.